Podcast number 60, action. Well, hello there. Looky here, looky here. This is podcast number 60 of the STONED Roadie Show. All the skin information y'all want to know is on the STONED Roadie Show, and I'm your host, Craig Reed, the STONED Roadie, and I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Griff Martin, and I'd like to start out this edition of the STONED Roadie Show and say happy birthday to Joe Barnes, one of the original roadies from Lynyrd Skynyrd. Before I was, Joe was, I guess, the second. I don't know. There's some controversy there. Kevin Elston, I guess, was number one, and then they say Billy Powell was number two, and then Dean Kilpatrick. He was kind of like a roadie, but he wasn't like really a roadie. He was just kind of like a friend that helped out and stuff. And then they had to hire Joe Barnes, and then they had Joe. I see Joe on stage with Dean there for a little bit right before they went on tour with the Who, and I don't imagine they could afford to take Dean on the road with them. So on that tour, Who tour, the Quadrophenia Who tour, it was just Joe Barnes and Kevin Elson were the only two roadies, and then right after the Who tour was when I met up with them at the Holiday Inn in Kent, and then they hired me, and then right after that we got back to Jacksonville, and they brought Dean Kilpatrick back aboard. But yeah, I just want to say happy birthday to Joe, and Chad, my son Chad, said he's the one that kind of reminded me it was Joe's birthday, and I guess Joe says, "How's your dad doing, Chad?" And Chad says, "He's doing good." He says, "Well, I heard he had some kind of an incident a couple weeks ago." And Chad laughed and said, "Yeah, he OD'd on some brownies." And Joe said, "Well, that's the second time that's happened." And Chad says, "No, he said it was the first." He said, "Well, you're going to have to refresh his memory and ask for him. He remembers going to the hospital, the emergency room, when we was in London. He smoked so much hash, he went into smoke inhalation, and we had to take him to the hospital." And that's true. I bought me a big old chunk of hash over in Holland, a great big old piece of hash, and I hid it away from everybody, and I stashed it in them the 35 millimeter film canisters. It was some soft hash, and I had a bunch of that, and I stuck them inside the speaker cabinet, the Sony little portable stereo ARTIMUS gave me, and I'd take the back of the speaker off and stick them capsules of hash inside there and smuggle them all over. And yeah, we got and we got to London. When I first broke it off, we were in Holland, and we went to London, and I had that stuff, and I broke it out, and I was smoking it with everybody. Well, while everybody else was, not there, I was smoking it by myself, and then everybody kept visiting my room, and every time somebody visited my room, we'd smoke some hash, and I smoked so much hash I didn't take enough air in, and I went into like smoke inhalation and had to go to the emergency room in London, and they gave me Valium. They didn't know what was wrong with me, but yeah, that was a pretty. I kind of forgot about that one. That was kind of weird, but yeah. But I guess what are we going to talk about there today, Griff? I'm kind of lost here.
Was that hash that you had? Was that some of what you guys were smoking your reels that you took those
Oh yeah, yeah. That's
the,
part of the
those
story
crazy
I wanted to tell. Thanks. We
reels.
got back to Jacksonville, and I smuggled this damn hash all over Europe, and we got back to Jacksonville, and I still had one of them canisters of left them film canisters, and I told Gary and Dean, I said, I still got some of that. Come over, so they'd come over every night. They'd come over and smoke some. They said, we're gonna go out juking. Me and Dean are gonna go out juking. We're gonna come over and smoke some hash before we go out. And I go, yeah, come on over. About 4 or 5 days in a row, they'd come over, and that's as far as they'd make it. They'd make it to my house, and then they'd they'd leave and go home. It was so high, But yeah, that was pretty funny. But yeah, well,
Yeah,
we got some. Do what?
yeah. Y'all might wonder how the stone is so healthy. Being a stoner, the, you novice stoners out there, you can't just act like Craig, and you got to know the secret how to staying healthy. And one of them is the Stoned Roadie tea. This this tea, Craig and I both drink it, and I don't drink as much as Craig does, but well, you drink probably a gallon a day, don't you,
I
Craig?
drink at least a gallon a day. Yeah, but I went to the doctor and they told me I was getting high blood pressure, and I told them I drank a bunch of that tea, and they said, "Well, how much caffeine is in that tea?" I said, I drink that tea all the way up until I go to bed, and I don't have any trouble sleeping. Well, the tea's called GABA, and it's actually Chinese tea. It's called GABA, and it's actually known for relaxation and soothing and calming, and it's actually known to reduce high blood pressure. And it even said there, I've even read articles where it said that if you're kind of on any high blood pressure medication, that to advise your doctor that you're on this tea, because it actually could intensify the effect of the high blood pressure medicine you're already taking. So yeah,
Yeah,
it has
oolong.
it doesn't have any caffeine in it. Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, but
It's
you can
high in.
drink too much. It's something about it because if I drink too much, I get kind of wired out a little bit, and I thought it had a lot of caffeine in it, but uh, yeah, I don't drink as much as Craig, but it
It's
I think it
the only bad side effects it says was it made you sleepy, and some people it gave them headaches, and some people it gave them a upset stomach a little bit. But those are the only
well
side
between
effects.
that and the Stone Roadie stew, the Stone Roadie soup.
Soup.
Yeah, which I think Craig's taken a little bit of a sabbatical on that here lately. He got souped out there
Oh
for a
God, yeah, I
while.
got souped out a little bit. I've been making different things. I'm kind of I bought me one of them a mandolin. Now you might think I bought a mandolin that's got strings on it. No, it's a mandolin that slices tomatoes and onions and cucumbers and stuff. And I was buying this cucumber salad at the store, and I goes, well, heck, I can just make this stuff. So I started making cucumber salad. I've been eating a shitload of cucumbers here lately, and cucumbers are good for you. I've been eating a lot of pistachios, and they just came up with a new study that says pistachios are really high in protein and antioxidants. Yeah, for all you people that want to get healthy.
And lose some weight.
Yeah,
Uh,
lose some weight. Think there's a whole
yeah,
bunch
but
of
yeah,
you.
so Craig, you can't just jump into being a stoner without having some kind of a plan. So even though Craig had to go to the hospital and they carted him off in a ambulance, he he's still he still is pretty healthy. I don't think I could find anything wrong with him, but Yeah,
Oh yeah, in
this
the
is
hospital
podcast.
they were amazed at somebody my age. Everybody's amazed. They said, "What kind of medication do you take?" I said, "I don't take any medication." They go,
Well,
like, you
you
know,
don't take
every
any medication
no, prescribed to me. Yeah,
that's prescribed by a
sometimes
doctor.
I eat some that's prescribed to other people, but it's not.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, that's Craig's secret. So if you really want to find out details, maybe one day we'll go through his recipe and everything. But yeah, this is podcast number 60, Craig, and we've got what was it, 894 subscribers now? Yeah, 894 subscribers.
Yeah, we're picking them up a
Up
little faster now since we've been
past that
pimping
1,000
people
mark.
to you're kind of in and out on on your wireless your internet strength today.
Yeah, I don't know. It's probably, I live in the city, so it could be, who knows? I don't, last time we had a little bit of an issue with it too, but hopefully we'll get through this. Yeah, yeah. So if you guys can hit the subscribe just a little harder this time than normal if you're new to the podcast, we want to see if we can't get that 1,000 before 1 year's up. And
People have been telling me that it's hard for them to hit like and subscribe, but the way they're taking in the Stone Roadie show. I mean, when you talked last week, I goes, you know, Griff, there's a lot of people that listen to the Stone Roadie show, and they don't see that I got this cool green screen behind me and everything. It's just an audio thing to them, and people, you know, driving their cars and they go from place to place, and they, you know, the Stone Roadie shows are something a little different for them to listen to. So that's the way they partake us, and you know, so when you do it that way, you can't really like and subscribe or either one. And you know, YouTube is the only format I guess you can do it on. You can't do it on FakeBook. So yeah, well, we're trying to get up to 1,000. They say when you get to 1,000, you start making a little bit of money, and you go up on your algorithm, and the higher up on your algorithm you go, the more YouTube will pay you for each one of these podcasts. And if we ever got to the point where we ever did make any money on this, like we've said before, we're really, you know, didn't start doing this to make any money ourselves. I just started doing this. People wanted me to write a book, and I just said, man, I'm not qualified to write a book, but I'm not qualified to do a podcast either. But seems like I'm the only one that's qualified or was there to that with Skinner that had my level of whatever you call it, to the inner circle. You know, just like I said before, Kevin was like the first roadie Skinner had, but Kevin wasn't a real partier. He took this more of a serious, and he became a serious, you know, sound engineer and producer and everything. And he, you know, he didn't get involved with the personal lives of the band like I did, you know. And we all, you know, there was a bunch of us were potheads, and you know, potheads all kind of stick around and smoke pot together, you know. And Kevin didn't smoke pot, you know, and Joe Barnes didn't smoke much pot either, you know, and he didn't really party and hang out a lot with the band when they were home, like, you know, like I did. And I just became kind of one of the, I wasn't a band member, but it seems like everything the band did, I was kind of there with them. So I had a, you know, I guess I'm the closest thing to the band that of as a person that's willing to do these. I mean, Kevin, he doesn't want to do them that I know of, and Joe Barnes, we've asked him to come on. He's not really enthused about doing these, and everybody else is dead, you know. So, you know, Mark Frank, he was a roadie with us, you know, but he kind of just got hired on right at the end, and Mark lived in Spartanburg, South Carolina. So Mark wasn't one that hung around with the band, and Mark wasn't a real big partier or drinker or anything like I was. So, I guess, people comment about why listening to the Stone Roadie show and how much they enjoy it and stuff. And, I know I'm not very good at this, and I need Griff to help me kind of keep my thoughts and stuff together, and, but I ask people, I say, God, what do you like so much about the Stone Roadie show? I mean, it's just, it goes, oh, you guys are so funny. It's like, and they say, one lady said, I swear to God, you guys could talk about watching paint dry and be entertaining, I kind of chuckled on that one, but we'd really appreciate it if it's all possible to hit like and subscribe and, get up on that. I'm just kind of curious as to, what you can actually do from here. There's so many different opinions on, making money on YouTube, and making money was never on YouTube wasn't it never one of my goals on this, not that I'm allergic to making money, but that's just was never one of my thoughts when we started this. Like I said, people wanted me to write a book, and I just really don't want to write a book. And then, somebody wanted me to do a podcast and Music Explorer magazine. So I got this equipment, and then they kind of got sick or whatever happened to him. And then Griff and I started doing them. It was March 14th last year. We did our first one on YouTube, and I think we did 4 pilots on Facebook. And once we figured out we had to go through YouTube to put them on Facebook anyways, then we started podcast number 1, March the 14th. So we're not even a year into it. And everybody says it takes a good year to get up to 1,000 subscriptions. So yeah, we're right on track, but we'd appreciate it if any help y'all could give us. If you could, if you haven't liked and subscribed, please do so. And I think Griff got a whole bunch of questions and comments and stuff we're going to go over today. And I think that's probably where we should go from here, Griff.
Yeah. Craig was saying a lot of people, they don't see the podcast. They listen to it in the car, and Craig's always got a cool background in his green screen. Usually he'll put something up. Sometimes he'll just have his little office there, his studio. But and then just when we first started, I held up a drawing of it's the Stone Roadie and the Rocket Scientist. Yes, we appreciate Eric Eiler sending us that drawing, and we're going to do something with that. I'm not sure what it's going to be, but yeah, the last podcast 59, I guess a recap. We kind of talked about that stage pass that Ronnie had, and somebody had gotten a hold of it, and a lot of people were slamming Judy on the comments, but I'm not going to read anything like that because I know a lot of people have their opinions about Judy, but in my opinion, I don't think Ronnie Van Zant would want anybody talking about her, and that's just my opinion. That's the his wife, his widow, and the mother of his child. And who knows, maybe one day we can get her on here. And I think she, like her or not, she's got some stories, man. So you guys,
I hate to interrupt you,
know,
but I think I talked to you the other day, and I told you my son Chad. He said I just got off the phone with Judy for an extended period of time, and we were talking, and Chad just kind of off the wall just said, would you ever consider being on the Stone Roadie show? And Judy said, yeah, she would. She said, I'd like to talk to your dad about some things. And so apparently Judy has agreed to come on, and we're going to bring her on and talk to her, So yeah, I don't have any issues with Judy. I'd be glad to have her on. And then Griff's got some pretty cool on the road with Griff Martin things coming up. So
yeah.
we got some pretty interesting things coming up.
Yeah, this weekend, actually, I'm going up to Jacksonville. I don't want to mention his name. There's a guy that I'm going to go spend some time with this weekend. And he was like really close to Alan Collins. And there's going to be some really cool stuff. I've been invited to his house, and he's got some actual things that were Alan's, and we're going to take a look at them. I'm going to have my camcorder, and there's going to be some cool things that we're doing that I don't want to spill the beans on yet. And you never know. I mean, I could get hit by a truck before that happens. So I don't want to go into too much about that. But yeah, that last podcast, we were talking about the stage pass, and there's some comments about that. There's some more comments about the brownies and things, and also Craig selling stuff on eBay that came off the plane. So we'll just go over these comments and questions that we got from the last podcast, if you want, Craig.
Yeah, let's just roll with it.
That sound good.
Yeah,
I totally. Like I said, it was podcast number 59, and I think what's that, Craig?
I totally don't have any idea what these questions are. So
yeah, they're just comments and questions, and they were from the last podcast, and there's quite a few on there. There's like 63 comments, and so we're kind of like focusing on these YouTube people here. Sometimes we get a little carried away with the Facebook people, but we're going to start focusing on some YouTube here. And some of these comments, and here's the first one. We'll just go right down the list. Craig and Griff, another good talk here. Thanks. Is there any way you could get Johnny Van Zant and Ricky Medlock on here to do some talks? And that was from cousin Feigl. I guess that's how you pronounce. And this guy, he has emailed me a couple times, and he donated $100 for a raffle ticket for the Brandon Miller guitar raffle. So thanks there, cousin Feigl. And
Feigl, yeah.
Craig, what do you Feigl? Yeah, thanks for the donation. So the question, are we going to have Johnny Van Zant and Ricky Medlock on here? You think we could ever get them on here, Craig?
Oh, I don't know. I don't. I don't get along good with their management.
Never say never.
I don't think their management would enjoy having them on the Stone Roadie show. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, maybe if they ever get Zach in their band, maybe Zach can talk to him. He would be a good replacement for Gary.
Oh yeah.
So maybe if he ever gets on there, maybe he can put something in their ear and say, "Hey, why don't you guys go on the Stone Roadie show?" Okay,
yeah, that'd be great if
from,
they would, but
cousin Feigl. All right, so yeah, who knows? I mean, I know I've met Johnny several times, and he's a really great guy. Ricky Medlock. I talked to him a little bit when I was backstage there, and yeah, those guys are nice guys. They're great guys. I'm sure if they wouldn't get in trouble, they'd do it. But who knows why they wouldn't? Maybe they.
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good friends with Johnny and Ricky. God, I've spent hours and hours and hours upon hours on end with
Oh yeah,
both of them. We.
yeah. You were at Ricky's house riding in a speedboat
Oh
there
yeah, yeah.
one
Me
time.
and Ricky have a long history together. But yeah.
Yeah, and then so we got another question here. Aaron Caruso. That might be the Caruso we had
Aaron,
on here, maybe. I don't know.
yeah, my friend Ronnie's son. Hey, Aaron, what's going on? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
What's up, Uncle Craig? Loving the podcast. This is Aaron, by the way. Just went to visit my father a couple days ago. We were talking about you, and he sure would love to see you. Maybe we can set up a visit.
Oh
So
yeah,
that's
Ronnie just
I guess
called me.
you
Yeah, Ronnie just called me the other day. Yeah, I'm Aaron's godfather. That's my
Yes,
godson, Aaron. Yeah,
so I mean, if you end up becoming Craig's son, there's a lot of perks with
yeah.
that. Then we got another question from Nick Marconi. Why is Ronnie called Wicker? Now that's been addressed on another podcast, but you would have to binge watch, and I couldn't tell you
Oh,
which
I can, I
podcast.
can, I can, I can, I can put an explanation to that relatively quickly. There was a kid in school. His name was Van Wicker, and he was a little funny acting, and they would teach Ronnie because his name was Van Zant. You act like that Van Wicker character. So I don't know. So then they dropped the Van part, and they just started calling Ronnie or Wicker. Just very close friends. A handful of his friends would just joke around and call him Wicker. So yeah. So Gary and Alan and Bob, I think especially called him Wicker. And when I started with the band, I just kind of picked up that some people called him Wicker, and so I just one day I said, "Hey, Wicker," and he kind of looked at me funny. Yeah, but yeah, that was it. There was a kid in school that was name was Van Wicker, and they used to make fun of him,
That
and
was
then
always a big secret on the fans, and people were like wanting to know why did they call Ronnie Wicker, and everybody's like, "Shh, don't tell anybody, it's a secret." So that's out of the bag. We're gonna go ahead and tell you everything we know. All the skin information you need to know is on the Stoned Roadie
Gene
show.
Odom probably knows the exact story to that. I don't really think I've ever asked Gene about that.
Yeah, Gene's told me you're pretty close. You're pretty close. Gene
Yeah.
told me this story before. Yeah. Okay, let's move into the next question. Stephen Haberly. What were the pilots like on the plane? Did they party with the band? Does Craig have photos of them?
No.
Well, I hope they didn't party with the band while they were flying. I heard that they had a little bottle of whiskey one time. I think when Aerosmith was trying to rent the plane, somebody said they smelled a little whiskey on them. I don't know, Craig. What were the pilots like?
The pilots were okay. They were nice guys and stuff, but there's a lot of people that are guys that are nice guys, but they don't know how to fly an airplane. And that's kind of like the way they just weren't qualified to be in that position. They made bad decisions that cost them their life. I mean, they didn't
Yeah,
check the
not enough
fuel.
fuel.
They didn't, just,
didn't fix
made a bunch
didn't
of
have
bad
the engine
decisions.
fixed.
They didn't
And
have to go for that field. If, that's what I said. I was, when the plane was going down, I was laughing because I was looking out the window and that pipeline that you see on the films that are connected with my films and that thing, we're going down a pipeline. And I'm going, oh, this is going to be like Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. We're going to belly slide this plane into this pipeline. And I said, we'll probably knock the wings off of it, but no fuel in it, It's just be something to tell our grandkids about. And I was kind of looking forward to belly sliding this plane into the field, But they, for some reason, I guess they tried to make this field. I guess they figured if they could put it in that field, maybe they could get the plane out of there or whatever. I don't know what their decision process was, but that was a bad move. We could have belly slid it right into that pipeline,
yeah, Craig even told me, he said, that plane crash wasn't the worst crash I've ever been in. He said the Alan Collins car crashes were way worse than the plane crash. So
the person that's
Craig,
coming,
I think you had a little bit.
That person that you told that you said's coming on the show, as a matter of fact, if it wasn't for that's another person. If it wasn't for me, he wouldn't even know Alan. I introduced all them guys to Alan, and then after I left, he kind of took over what I was doing, taking care of Alan, and he's got some pretty interesting stories about writing with Alan
Oh yeah, he told me
yeah.
this is the guy that I'm going to go see in Jacksonville, and I didn't realize, Craig gave me his number sometime back, and I was like, Craig, he's got so many stories, and to him, they're really, not interesting to him. But once I talked to this guy, I was like, Craig, why didn't you give me the guy's number a long time ago? And he said, well, I tried to get you to call him, so I finally called him, and man, I couldn't believe the things this guy's got some great stories. But yeah, back to those pilots. I remember talking to a couple survivors. I think it was Mark Howard, one of them, and he said Gene was running up and down the aisle before the plane crash and said, when the pilots are going, oh shit, you got a problem. That just sounds like Gene right there. The pilots are saying, oh shit, put your heads between your legs. So yeah, that's a scary thing, but Craig, he handled it well. All right, moving on to the next one. This is this guy here. I've seen this handle before, the CCCCC. Hi, Craig and Griff. Who in the band wanted to have background singers? I'm guessing Ronnie, since he was the singer. And how did each honkette get hired?
I don't know the exact process, but
that's the first one.
Anything that Ronnie did in the studio on a record, he had to be able to do live. So when they had the girls doing background vocals, he had to have girls on the road, just like the horn section. And he started putting horns on some of the songs, and then we had to have a horn section come out too, so it sounded just like the record. He didn't want to do anything on a record he couldn't do live. So
where did each one of the honkettes come from? We know
that exactly. Leslie came from Wet Willie, so I would imagine that was the connection, because we did a lot of shows with Wet Willie. So Leslie, I would assume, was just still the connection from Wet Willie. And JoJo, I don't know, and Cassie, I don't know either. From what I understand, Cassie was doing Broadway. You know, she was in a play. I think she was in Hair or one of those Broadway shows like
I was
that.
thinking that Cassie knew JoJo. I was thinking I'd heard that, but I remember watching a video about how Ronnie hired JoJo, and she came in and she was talking to him, and she didn't even have to audition. He just liked her. He said, you know, he said, I like you. So yeah, you're hired. There's a good thing she could sing, right? So, but she was a cool,
That's what I heard her say. She didn't even audition. She just,
yeah. But she was a pretty cool chick, from what I
oh,
understand.
she was sassy, man. JoJo was a really cool chick, man. Yeah, she was really cool. All of them were, you know, Cassie, Leslie, all of them were really cool.
Yeah, maybe one day we can get Leslie on here. Hopefully, we can do something there. We'll see. We're gonna try. We're gonna try our hardest to do.
I
do
guess she's had some health issues. I don't know. That's, you know, don't hear a lot from her.
All right, moving on to the next comment. Ashley Hunter. Hi, Ashley. Huge fan of Lynyrd Skynyrd and Alan Collins and the Stoned Roadie show. Love hearing funny, wild stories about the band behind the scenes. Are there any more funny stories about the band and any more about Alan Collins and Bob Burns? Keep them coming. Thank you. You got any good Bob Burns? Any Bob Burns? We're going to be covering Alan here when I go on the road, but Bob Burns, we don't talk too much about Bob Burns. Did you hang out with Bob Burns much?
I did, yeah, I did, yeah. I was Bob Burns' drum roadie, you know, so I was like his very first drum roadie or official drum roadie, I guess. I was Artemus's first drum roadie. I mean, you know, before me, they both did them their self, or either Joe Barnes and Kevin Elson would, you know, put them up. I guess during the Who tour, Joe probably put the drums together, you know.
So
But
what was Bob like? You know, like say, you know, you guys, I'm sure you hung out. Was he any different than anybody else? I know he knows how to tell a story. He knew how to tell a story. You know, I
Bob was funny. Bob was real funny character. Yeah, he was funny. And Bob was a
about
fighter
how
too, you know. Bob
they
Bob
got the name Lynyrd Skynyrd. And
You've got a rough internet connection today, Griff. You're frozen.
we'll have to get through it somehow. I have to call up my. I have to do like. Remember last week you had internet problems at your house, and you had somebody come in and completely change your service. Maybe I need to do that. You know,
Oh
I've got that
God, that was such a
spectrum.
that was such a hassle. I've had the same phone number for 65 years, and I couldn't download that last video. I tried to download it. It was like all night long. It was like 15 hours all night long, and it was like halfway through. So I got sick of it, and I called Spectrum, and oh yeah, we'll send somebody right out. I said, but I got to keep my same phone number. Oh yeah, no problem. So they sent somebody out and put in the service, and the guy left, and I had a totally different phone number. I'm going, oh, you got to be kidding! I've had that phone number.
Yeah, because I was
well,
trying to get hold of Greg.
You gotta call AT&T, and you gotta tell them that you're switching service, and they've got to release that number. You know, Spectrum couldn't get my phone number released from AT&T for a week. So I had an alternate phone number for a week. I had people showing up at my house, making sure I was okay, going, "Your phone's disconnected. What's going on?" You know, because I've got a cell
Yeah.
phone, but I
As
don't
a
use it.
matter of fact, Ed King's wife sent me an email and said, "Is Craig mad at me or something? Because I'm trying to call him and he's blocked me from his phone." And I said, "No, he's not mad at you. But but Craig's got his number back now, and I had like about 3 numbers for Craig. Craig doesn't answer his cell phone, so if you don't, well, he had his cell phone for backup, but if you don't
I
have
don't
Craig's
use that
numbers, and
cell phone.
sometimes he's a little hard to get a hold of.
My message machine on my cell phone says, "I don't use a cell phone. Call my home phone." I don't use that thing.
Yeah, yeah, it sounds like you're getting yelled at because he goes,
I
"I
don't
don't use that
answer.
cell phone." So,
I don't use a cell phone. Call my home phone.
and Craig keeps his cell phone in his trunk so it doesn't emit any radiation in his house. Which, hey, he's doing something right, so you can't laugh about it too hard, right?
I've already got too much brain damage. I don't need any radiation poisoning in my head.
Who knows what's in those phones, man? I get a headache if I start texting on them, so there's probably something. But yeah, we're moving right along. Ronnie 5129, Craig Griff, another great podcast. I saw a YouTube thing where someone at the metal detector talking about that was Feigl again. And so yeah, that could be possible,
that whole message didn't hear it. It was all gargled. You have to do
Oh,
that
was it?
again.
Oh, well, it was just talking about somebody who was out looking for stuff with a metal detector at the crash site, and that's probably where Ronnie's stage pass came from. So did you hear that?
Yeah, I heard that.
Better
Yeah.
connection.
Last week I said that, when I went to the warehouse where all the stuff was in Jacksonville, where all the stuff was shipped to and put in that warehouse, that I found one of Ronnie's backstage passes, in 1980 I found that. And then in 1987, when we started the tribute tour, I gave that pass to Johnny, and so it wasn't the one that I had.
So there must have been another one.
Yeah, I think we all had two. I think I remember having two passes.
Unless Johnny had a bad week and he needed to sell it for some extra money.
No, as soon as the tribute tour started, I gave Johnny that pass. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, James B. cares. Let me see what he says. I talked with Craig over the phone for over an hour a few years ago. Great stories about himself, Ronnie, and the whole band. One thing Craig told me was about how he had got all the things occasionally that he sells on eBay. So I guess you were talking to him about that same thing, how you got them. And he says, nice to hear you guys on the podcast. And he's enjoying the podcast. Appreciate that, James. And then we got Mark Regan. Good thing you have been a roadie. Now a #1 stone roadie. That job takes brains, thick skin, and perseverance. Craig, you asked and tried to get people back their stuff, and all those things would have been in the dumpster if not for you. So he's commending you for that, Craig, for rescuing all the things. That was in a warehouse, right? Like a
It was
storage
in
warehouse, wasn't
the
it?
band's warehouse where the equipment was, all the stuff that came into to Jacksonville was all just they just opened the door and just literally just tossed it in there on top of all the equipment and stuff. Yeah, when I opened the door, it was just all clothes and suitcases and stuff just scattered all over the place. I guess probably the stuff was maybe damp or something. I don't know, but then they just kind of laid it all out, so that it would dry or what. I don't know. I wasn't there, so it was just kind of all laid out. So
I know Joe Crimp. Joe Crimp was telling me he was roommates with Leon Wilkeson when the plane crashed, and Leon had gotten out of the hospital, and he was back at the house, and somebody delivered, I guess, what they thought all of his stuff was in this suitcase, and Joe Crimp said it was pretty surreal watching him go through that suitcase, hold things up, and going through to see what they were, who they belonged to, and he finally just closed it up and told Joe to get rid of it, throw it in the trash. So I think Joe probably did that, and that's a little story I heard from Joe Crimp. Let's see what we got. SJ Goody 6590. I love this podcast. The story Craig told about Alan Collins taking the car keys and doing a burnout cracked me up. Alan Collins sure sounded like a hoot. My favorite guitarist ever. So we're gonna have on the road with Griff Martin a lot of Alan Collins stuff. So you guys stay tuned. Not sure if that'll come out.
The guy that's coming on next week, he was telling me about a guy that wrote a book about a bunch of different people. And Alan was in the book, and one of the quotes from in the book was Alan Collins is the craziest son of a bitch I ever met.
Yeah, he was telling me the whole thing about how Alan would take his foot and put it on the gas pedal and then grab the wheel because you weren't going fast enough. He said, "You're not going fast enough, so let me help you out here."
Oh yeah.
That's what Gene said. He tried to do it to him, and Gene gave him an elbow to the eye socket and told him, "Don't do that with me. You're not doing that with me." I believe that. I believe Gene did that. Okay, we got Rollins. I can't really make out that name. Could y'all see if Derek Hess or Randall Hall would come on and talk about the Alan Collins band? Anything cool that in the Rossington Collins band? And we were kicking it around trying to get a hold of Derek Hess this weekend. I was going to try to get him to do something for me there, but I think Craig, you might have messaged him and you didn't get an answer.
Yeah, he just kind of blew it off and said, what am I gonna talk about on there? He just, Rossington Collins is really the only thing he did professionally touring wise. I don't think that he thinks he did enough professionally to come on and talk, but Derek's a great drummer, man. I mean, he
recorded drummer, man. The guy's like, he's got great accolades, and I'm sure he's got some good Alan Collins stories because they were pretty good friends.
Yeah, he just doesn't feel like he has a lot to contribute, I guess. I don't know. It's kind of the way I took his message,
Got Fuckna69, whatever handle that is. Hey, Craig, how well did you get to know Barry Lee Harwood?
Oh, relatively well. Yeah, I'd spent a lot of time with Barry. Barry spent a lot of time with Alan, and me and Barry and Alan spent a long time together. Yeah, I hung on with that Barry quite a bit. Barry was at Alan's quite a bit.
Yeah. Okay, let me see here what we have. Here's one that I read, and maybe you can clear a few cobwebs out of the corner of your brain, Craig, and go back in time and see if you can remember this one. Stingy Lizard wants to know. I sure wish Craig would read this and answer a question. Well, you're getting ready to get it read to him. So if he can recall, we met Craig in the Woodlands, 1997, the 20 tour. We wound up talking beside the bus. A very polite dude strolled up with some awesome handmade fishing poles, fully rigged to give to Gary and Huey and Ricky, etc. Who was that guy? I've never forgot those bass poles. He said, let me expand it. He was from Jacksonville. Asked about Judy and Melody. Craig said he had Ronnie's truck for safekeeping, and Melody was wanting it, but Craig wasn't having it. I could see in Craig's face that he was holding back a lot of cussing. I think we fans can safely say that Judy is totally okay. We're not going to go there. But what do you know about some fishing poles?
I don't remember that. No, I don't.
Anything?
Don't remember it. I was probably stoned,
Yeah.
at the Woodlands. Yeah, I remember the Woodlands, but I don't remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine they've got all kinds of gifts from fans,
Yeah, that kind of crazy stuff happened quite a bit. I just don't remember it all.
Yeah, I wonder if maybe Gary still has those poles. He's a fisherman, so maybe one day we'll ask Gary that question. 70 Brian wants to know. Let me see. Great show, guys. Was my first day back to work after losing my dad last week. Was great to listen, and it helped me be calm. Well, we sure are sorry to hear about that. You lost your dad there, 70 Brian. And it is kind of calming listening to Craig, with all these stories, and when he ends up with some of these antics that he goes through, going to the hospital and things like that, we can laugh about that now, right, Craig?
Yeah. I haven't got the bill yet, though.
Yeah. Let me see. Here's somebody who, David Rice, and he's saying he supports any dollar anybody that was on that plane could make. Every single person who rode that plane into the swamp in Mississippi should get a residual from concert tickets, shirts, and CDs, and everything associated with the band. Why can't they get that? And so I'm not going to go on and on with that, but I kind of agree with that guy.
Yeah, that sounds like a good
I'm a little
request for
sensitive.
me.
I'm kind of sensitive when it comes to the plane crash survivors. Those guys, they deserve, to be taken care of, and I think they got left behind. But just like I said before, opinions are like assholes, and I could be an asshole. So let me see here. CCCC, great show, guys. Doris, 1755. You should have someone on from other bands that know Skynyrd. Well, we're we're working on that. Maybe one day, we'll get big enough where people will do
I'm
that. But
yeah, I'm
for
kind
right
of
now, I don't.
apprehensive.
Yeah.
I'm kind of apprehensive into asking any of my uh, friends that are professional musicians to come on, but after we get some legs and stuff, maybe we'll have some people that, it won't be so out of the question. A few people, that I know that I'd like to have come on, but I just don't want to ask anybody right now. But maybe
Yeah,
if
that's
we
like we were talking about Doug Gray, and somehow it came up that story about Doug Gray and about how he's the one who broke it to you that when your mother died. You want to tell that story, Craig?
yeah, we played at a place called Jackie Lee's. It was a kind of a supper club place in Akron, and and my sister brought. I didn't want I didn't really. I don't think I even told my mom or anything about, because my mom was old, So my sister ended up bringing my mother to the Marshall Tucker show, So then when I found out she was there, I arranged it so they got a table like right up front. I mean, right in the front, and she had a real good time and stuff. So then the next day, John Coulter and myself, we were staying at the hotel right down the road from my house, and I took John up to this chicken place up the road that I worked up there with, because my friends owned the place and I was a bartender and stuff up there. So we stopped up there and had some spaghetti. She made spaghetti and stuff. So we went up there and was going past my house. That was my birthday. And I called my mom, and then she says, "Why don't you stop by?" And I goes, "Oh, I'll be home in 10 days. I'll just see you then." So we're gonna go up to the Orchard Inn and have some lunch, and I'll just see you in 10 days. So we were going by in the truck, and my mother was coming out of the driveway, and I said, "Oh, well, look, there comes my mom out of the driveway," and wonder where she was going. Well, she was coming up to the Orchard Inn. It was my birthday, and the mail had come, and I had got some birthday cards or whatever, and she was bringing me my birthday cards up to the Orchard Inn. And on the way up there, she had a massive heart attack and died, and went and just went past the Orchard Inn, and when there was a Y in the road, and she didn't make the Y in the road, and she glanced off a student driver and ended up in the field, and and that's where she ended up. But she had a massive heart attack, and we got to New York, I believe it was, and as soon as I got there, everybody was saying, "Hey, you got to go see Doug. Doug wants to see you as soon as you get here." And I'm going, "Whoa, what's this all about?" So I went up to Doug's room. I goes, "Hey, Doug, what's going on?" And he goes, "Well, I don't know how to tell you this, but just to tell you, your mom's died." And I went, "I just saw her last night, No, she did." He goes, "No, no, yeah, she died. We got plane ticket for you, go home and do whatever you got to do." And I just go, whoa, So yeah, that was I just yeah,
Okay.
we were talking about it, and I said, "Yeah," I said, "that was weird. Doug was put in the place where you got to tell somebody their mother died. That's not it's not a
Yeah, and if you
something you want
guys
to
that don't
do."
know who we're talking about, that's Doug Gray, Marshall Tucker. He sang "Fire on the Mountain," "Heard It in a Love Song," and all those things. And him and Craig are pretty good buddies. Matter of fact, when I was at Craig's house, he had this tambourine, and I said, "Oh, Doug Gray signed this tambourine," and he goes, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, I'll take this with me," and he goes, "No."
Excellent. There it is right
I
here.
guess Craig likes to play that tambourine. Just show him the signature, Craig. Is that that
Where's
that
this
Doug Gray's
signature?
tambourine?
There it is right there.
There it is. Doug Gray. Yeah, I tried to talk Craig out of that, and he said no.
He signed it in here too.
Oh, but that's a cool tambourine. That's cool.
He signed it in there too.
Let me see here. Oh yeah. And Derek Collins, 1972. Edibles sent me to the hospital as well. I thought a little was okay and a bit more was better. Boy, I was wrong. That's the same thing Craig did. You know, he was munching on them a little excessively. But yeah, are those brownies gone now, Craig?
They're gone. Yeah.
Are they all gone now?
Matter of fact, I finished them up last night.
Yeah, we got PAOL Vincent 6,800. Thanks, Craig and Griff. Happy trails and God bless. And Michelle, love it. Love your podcast. Happy trails, Griff and Craig. And there's a guy, Mark Howell, says, how about starting a GoFundMe type of fundraiser for all the survivors? He says, I would love to help. Well, yeah, when you start getting into stuff like that, then, you know, some people might feel like they get more money than others, or you never know. You know, you open up a can of worms like that, you better be ready.
Griff and I were actually discussed that a few times, how we could start something, and Griff was kind of going, you know, set up a fund where somebody can, there's how many ever survivors there are, set up something where somebody can donate to whoever they would like to donate to, you know.
Yeah, just matter of fact, I was thinking about opening up a site and a page that's got everybody who wants to be, that was on the plane, that wants to be on the site, and you can go and look at their bio, and you can click their Fund Me button, and it can go to directly to whoever you want, or you can contribute to all of them. And so I'm going to start working on that. You know, I think there's a lot of people that would like to give to those guys.
Yeah, Mark Howard just had, I heard he just had some serious issues, and he's, you know, kind of been what do you call it, falling back on some past problems. Yeah, and then Paul Welsh, I guess he's had some issues, and Mark Frank too, you know, and we don't know about Leslie, but like I said before, I've heard she had some health things that were because of the plane crash injuries. Yeah.
Yeah, and Gene Odom is like, you know, he's had like about 4 back surgeries, about 3 neck surgeries, and you know, but that Gene, you know, he had rods put in his back, and about 4 days later he drove up to Maine. I was like, something's not right with that guy, man. I mean, you have 4. I had back surgery, and I mean, that was pretty rough, you know. But Gene, he jumps in that little Volkswagen Rabbit and takes off to Maine with 2 rods in his back 4 days later. That's pretty crazy, Gene. See here, we're talking about another guy. He says, Joe Honecker. He says, Craig, sorry to hear about the brownies. Next time, try a little coffee with the next batch to help soothe out the buzz. Okay, all right. I don't think that would have helped much. You, Craig? I mean, it might have kept you awake a little while.
I was still high the next day, man.
Let me see.
Well, Ronnie, I think I talked before, but when I was talking to Ronnie yesterday, Aaron, you know, my godson Aaron, he was talking about Ronnie. Ronnie, when he was with Roston and Collins, we were in San Francisco, and And there was a guy that worked with Journey. His name was Prenton Palmer Buswell the Third, and he made some hash oil brownies, and me and Ronnie bought the whole damn tray and ate the whole thing. And you know, like I said last week, it takes a couple hours for them to come off, and we just sat down and just ate them. And then everybody was going to go out and have Mexican food, so we went with them. And by the time we got out and dinner came, and I'm going, and Ronnie's going, hey, Greg, my rice is dancing. We were buzzed, man.
Yeah, I mean, you know, when these people make these things, if you buy some medical marijuana, whether it's a gummy or a joint or, you know, any edible, you know, some of these things, they've got milligrams on there. But when somebody that your buddy makes a brownie, you don't know what you're getting. You know, it's not luck. You know, you might be one brownie away from a bad trip. So be careful out there with those edibles. You know, it's not a controlled substance, I guess you'd say. All right, James Wooten. I would be so effing happy to buy a slide, Craig. He goes, you do or say whatever, brother. So, but hey, you know, keep an eye on eBay. You know, Craig, you got any stuff on eBay right now, Craig?
Oh, what did I put up last week on eBay? Oh, I think I got one of those stickers from the it was the second sticker made. No, that was last week I sold that. This week, one of my lucky silver dollars. When me and Ronnie were out there in Las Vegas gambling, I bought like 6 rolls of silver dollars. They were all bicentennial, the bicentennial silver dollars, and I had them in a collection of money from all over the world. So if I collected those bicentennial quarters and silver dollars and 50-cent pieces and stuff, I collected those. But when I was leaving Jacksonville for the Survivors Tour, I was getting a divorce, you know. So anything I wanted to keep, I had to take it with me, or it wouldn't be there when I got home, and that's kind of the way that worked out. But
silver dollar was on the plane.
So everything I had saved, all the memorabilia and stuff. I had like 6 or 7 suitcases on the plane, and I had everything. I had all kind of papers and stickers, every sticker, everything I'd saved, you know, I had with me on that airplane. And I had all my coin collection and all my dollars, all that stuff was with me. So all those silver dollars, they're not silver dollars, they're the 1976 bicentennial ones, you know. And then I had the $2 bills and stuff like that. So yeah, those made it through the airplane crash. So I call them lucky silver dollars, and I sell one there.
So you got a lot of crash certified.
As a matter of fact, I've been selling those since 2006. And actually, I've sold out of the 60 that I have. Yes, this one that's on up today is number 40. I got 20 more after this one. But yeah, I sell them every once in a while. Lucky silver dollars. And then what else did I have up this week? Oh God, I don't even remember. I only sell a couple of things.
I know there was some people that were making like I think it was Mark Frank had some of them, and they made some some guitar picks out of the aluminum that came from the plane. And
Yeah,
Craig
yeah,
had
yeah, yeah.
quite a
I
few
have
of
a couple
those.
of those. Yeah, I have a matter of
Yeah, I
fact.
got one of those.
I found a place online that made a holder for guitar picks, and the ones that Mark made and gave to me fit perfect inside of that stainless steel guitar holder. It was shaped like a pick. Yeah, I got one of those. I got a
Yeah,
couple of those.
there's a girl that I met, and I did some bartering with her, Heather Langley. I met her up at the monument at the unveiling, and I brought her a big inkjet print on canvas of the Hell House painting that I did, and I traded her. She I don't know if she still has any, but you can go on the internet. Her name's Heather Langley, and her site I believe is called Plectrum Heaven, and she makes jewelry for a lot of rock stars. I know there she made some stuff for Peter Frampton, and people fly her out. Some of these rock stars fly her out. They want jewelry, and she'll make them. And she's got some. I think she may have some airplane crash stuff made out of jewelry. So Plectrum Heaven, Heather Langley, check her out, and maybe you can get hooked up. But yeah, Craig, one of the things that Craig sold on eBay, and he still has, and he does it, is I had gotten a bunch of lighter knot from Gene Odom. You know, that lighter knot. It's that sappy wood that comes from a pine tree that gets struck by lightning. And this particular tree, Gene was out of the Hell House, and right there on Hell House property near the Hell House, and he heard this big piece of lighter knot hit the ground, and he drug it out of there. And so I talked that out of Gene. I said, "Hey man, I'll give you a couple $100." It was like a bunch of lighter knot. And so Gene said, "You got a deal." So I got that, and I had it cut up into a bunch of pieces, and I gave some to Craig. And I made a little thing there, and it was a little video, and you can light that stuff. It just lights right up because it's soaked with all this sap. And
Yeah, it's called fat wood. It's called fat wood.
Yeah, fat wood.
Fat wood.
Yeah, lighter knot or fat wood. And so I made this little thing commercial for Craig, and said, you can see when you light this. This was out at Hell House, and it was soaking up all of that Hell House music coming from the Hell House. And when you light it, you can hear Freebird out of this piece. And so I lit it.
Yeah, you can
play Freebird in the background.
Yeah, you light it. You can
Craig,
hear
so you sold them on eBay. Right?
I do. I think that I have that on the document of authenticity that it came from the Hell House, and Griff said when you light it, you can hear Freebird coming out of the smoke.
Yeah, and Craig's got some.
People love that kind of stuff. It's funny. People love that.
I mean, it came from the Hell House. Yeah, it came
anything
from the Hell
to
House,
do with
so
people are freaks about anything to do with Lynyrd Skynyrd. It's just it's amazing. I mean, just the fact that I worked for Lynyrd Skynyrd, has made me some kind of a rock and roll legend or the world's most famous roadie or whatever. But it's funny because nobody has ever talked about roadies before. I mean, there was a movie Roadie. Meatloaf did a movie Roadies a few years ago, and Jackson Browne wrote a song about roadies, but there's never been one roadie actually picked out of the crowd and like, there's something special or whatever. Even Lemmy was Jimi Hendrix's guitar roadie, and David Gilmour was Pink Floyd's roadie, and Billy Powell was Lynyrd Skynyrd's roadie until he figured out he could play piano, Yeah, but nobody's ever really
Craig
gave
couldn't
any
play the guitar.
notoriety to
You can only
roadies, and you know, people go, Craig, I'd have done your job as a roadie for Lynyrd Skynyrd for nothing. Well, I basically did. I mean, when I first started, we all made $5 a day. I mean, not only did I do it for free, but the band did it for free. You know? But you know, there was always the vision that someday, you know, that they would make it and you would make it. And you know, I actually believed that. You know, I actually, you know, knew that these people were going to go somewhere, and eventually we'd get something out of it. You know, and it was quite a ride. I have not a regret in the world from the life that I lived from that band. You know,
yeah,
couldn't,
and you
couldn't imagine
know,
doing anything else.
kind of cool. It's kind of cool, you know. Craig's got every now and then another story will jog loose from his brain, but some of them, you know, he's totally forgotten. And I'll be talking to him, and I'll say, "Why didn't you tell me that before?" You know, we'll talk about it on the podcast, and he's like, "Oh, I didn't think that was a very interesting story," but you know,
Well, I forgot
cool.
about going to the emergency room in London until Joe brought it up to Chad. He said, yeah, ask him about going to the emergency room in London. He smoked so much hash, went into smoke inhalation.
Because I asked you, and you on a scale of 1 to 10, what was it like on your birthday a couple weeks ago? And you said that was an 11. So this had to be close to an 11.
I was high. The other time I could walk. This time my legs wouldn't work. I mean, granted I'm 72 now, but my God, I felt like I was 90. I mean, I could not walk. Even for the next day, I was walking with a cane. I mean, I have canes around here, you know, and I have a staff, you know, walking staff. I was walking with a cane for 2 days after that. I was really, really unstable. I mean,
yeah, because
it was mad.
yeah, you see a lot of pictures with Gary Rossington with a cane. So that might have been one of Gary's canes that Craig
Oh,
had.
I
Who
didn't.
knows?
No, I didn't want to fall down. I'd fall down enough. Heck, I just got out of an operation here on my had a plate taken out of my left arm from breaking my damn elbow falling in the ice, and then
Oh, yeah, that's
and then
that
I
one
fell
that you were
off that
trying to get
table
that
over
metal.
there.
Yeah, you were trying to get that metal so you could put it on eBay, and the surgeon wouldn't let you have it.
Yeah. Some
Oh,
guy
right.
asked about it too. Some guy asked if I was going to
Huh?
sell that plate out of my arm, and said they wouldn't give it to me.
Oh, yeah. Brian Gibbons is saying, I don't know Craig's personality, but I believe he's a straight up guy that tells the truth, whether it helps him out or hurts him. I feel in debt to him anyway. He's a big reason I was able to lose over 100 pounds. I've got Craig's back and Griff's back. I think both are straight up people. Well, we appreciate that, Brian.
Yeah,
And you know,
he
Craig,
lost like 120 pounds.
yeah.
Says he eats a lot of
And
oatmeal. Says he eats a lot of oatmeal.
and if you don't know that diet that Craig's talking about, it's called the fat shaming diet. So he calls you a fat ass every time he sees you, and if that don't do it, then he'll tell you again. Oh yeah. So anyway, congratulations for that weight loss there, Brian. Let me see. LS Freebird. Woohoo. Can't wait for the business cards. You want to plug those business cards again, Craig? How some people can get the cards?
Well, yeah, I got those business cards. Oh, yeah, it says a
You
Stone Roadie on them, and it's got my name on it. And then I flip it over and I sign them. And I said the first 100 that I would sell, I would number them, and I'm up to the next one I sell will be number 8. But for every one that I sell, I'm going to donate $10 of the $20 for the card. I'm going to give 10 of that to donate it to the guitar fund. And
Yeah, so you got some contact information for how to get those, Craig?
Craig J. Reed at hotmail.com is my PayPal account. Craig J. Reed at hotmail.com. And
There you have it.
and
There's
yeah.
your contact.
And the next one to be sold is number 8. And they're
Cool.
$20, and don't make it like you're buying something. Just make it like it's a gift, or they'll charge me 60 cents for a transaction fee.
And I tell you, Craig's got some tricks because I sent Craig a T-shirt, and Craig says, "Why didn't you get a FedEx box and turn it inside out?" He said they're free, and because I bought the package from the mail, it was probably a couple bucks. So Craig goes to FedEx and he gets a box from FedEx and he turns it inside out. And the guy's clever, man. What can I say? He comes up with some clever ideas. So I started snagging that idea. I used that idea. So
I look
yeah,
for every
Craig,
way
man,
there is to beat the system.
He's a miser.
Yeah,
And Gene Odom says Craig has jars of money buried all around his property. He says, "I'm telling you, Craig Reed is a multi-millionaire, and his son needs to get that map from him." And I said, "Well, what map? That damn map where all those jars of money's buried." So you guys stay away from Craig's house because he don't have any money buried out there. I don't think. But he does have a Convair 240 back in his barn that he takes parts off of and sells.
Yeah, really.
That's another one I heard. Okay, let me see. We're getting kind of towards the end here, Craig. Let me see here. I saw a local article about my hometown band. They are the Ozark Mountain Daredevils. They were leaving for Rock's Legend Cruise. I saw Skinny Molly listed in the lineup. First I've ever heard of them. Are you guys familiar with the Daredevils? I haven't heard of the Daredevils, but I do know that, that Rock Legend Cruise that just went out. I guess Mike Estes is back from that cruise, so
yeah,
we're
that
probably going to
ended.
get him on.
That ended Friday. Yeah, I contacted his wife Crystal and asked him if he wanted to come on and talk about it. She said he's doing some recording this week, and he let him know next week, and he might come on next week. He's supposed to have my the Stone Roadie show theme song done here. He supposedly had his drummer and his bass player, and they finally, I guess they put some tracks down. I don't know if it's done, but be interesting to hear it.
This Shell Man Brandon keeps asking about the Grateful Dead. Now, I've probably asked you this 3 times, but did any of the band or crew have interest in the Grateful Dead? I think Craig has said he doesn't really remember too much about the Grateful Dead interacting with Lynyrd Skynyrd, right, Craig? You don't remember too much about it. Yeah.
No, I really wasn't never into the Dead. They're kind of like just do a bunch of long jams or something like that. I never was a real Deadhead, and I don't think I know none of the band were either. But I like I said before,
And then the same girl.
we did do a couple of shows or something where they were around. Well, Bill Graham, they were always at the at Winterland, and Skinner played Winterland a couple of times, and they were in there either before or after us. And I think we went there and seen them. I don't remember really.
And then that same person, Shell Man Brandon, asks, "Hi guys, got another question. I'm curious if Alan and Gary had any interest in Thin Lizzy. I asked because Thin Lizzy had a remarkable twin guitar sound. The bands arrived on the scene at the same time. You probably Skynyrd may have played with Thin Lizzy. You remember that, Craig, at all?"
No, Journey. When I was with Journey, we did a tour with Thin Lizzy, but no, I don't think there was any interaction between Skynyrd and Thin Lizzy at all. Huh?
Do you know of any like songs or music that Alan Collins used to listen to? What was his favorite kind of groups and things? You remember, Craig?
He liked Bad Company. He especially liked Johnny. Johnny was a schoolboy when he heard his first Beatles song, "Love Me Do," I think it
Oh,
was.
he liked that one, huh?
Yeah, he said that was he said that was Barry Harwood. He thought that was Johnny was a schoolboy when he heard his first Beatles song, "Love Me Do," I think it was, and from there it didn't take too long.
So
Yeah.
what, he thinks that was written about Barry?
No,
Or
he thought when he heard that song, he thought about
oh, he
Barry.
thought about Barry. Yeah.
And then he liked Hot Blooded too. He liked some Foreigner songs. He liked Lou Graham's voice. Matter of
Oh,
fact,
okay.
they wanted me to try to get Lou Graham to be the singer in Rossington Collins, and I goes, I don't think that's gonna happen. When they were looking for a
Yeah.
replacement, they were looking for a singer before they
That
thought about Dale. They thought about Paul Rogers
yeah, that
and Lou Graham.
so they ended up with Dale Krantz, and then the rest is history. Well, that's all the questions, Craig. So looks like I don't even know where we're at on the time, but I'm
We're
sure it's
we're
probably
right at.
close
I
to.
think we're right at about an hour and 15, 20 minutes, something like that. We're over an hour.
Oh
So.
yeah.
Yeah.
So hopefully, I don't know if I'll have it edited by next week. I'm going to take that trip this weekend. I have a free weekend that I didn't expect. So I'm going to be going up to Jacksonville, and I had sold some drawings that I did of Lynyrd Skynyrd. It's like a caricature, and I sold a bunch of those. Some people sent me some checks for that. I was selling them for $45 a piece. Thanks to all the people that bought those, mainly off of Facebook, and that's paying for my room and my gas money to get up to Jacksonville. So thank you guys for that. And when I get back next week, I'm going to try to edit as fast as I can, so we can bring it to you on the next Stone Roadie show with all the skin information you need to know. So I guess we're ready to wrap it up, Craig.
All right. Yeah. This is podcast number 60 of the Stone Roadie Show. All the skin information y'all want to know is on the Stone Roadie Show. And it's about time to hear Happy Trail to You. Until we meet again, right here on the Stone Roadies Show. Happy trails to you, and may the good Lord take a liking to you. And that'll be a wrap for podcast number 60 cut. And
see you next week.
here we go. Say goodbye.